Hi everyone, welcome to your course, GEELEC3C, or we entitled this as your technical writing course. So today, I will be discussing your module number 5, which is about business communications. This is your instructor, Engineer Junaika A. Tapiador. So for the previous modules, I did not anymore create a video for it, since I do believe that most of the previous modules are already self-explanatory. However, for this upcoming module number 5, I believe it is crucial for you to be able to understand it fully, since as future engineers and architects, you will be dealing more with office works or technical writings in your in the industry later on. So this is the title of your module number 5, your business communications. So this is the content of your module number 5. The very first one is the introduction to your business communications, followed by the kinds of business letters, parts of a letter, and formats of a letter. So let's go to the first one, the introduction to your business communications. And this will be the content of this particular topic. We will be defining what is business communications first, and then we will tackle the types of business communications and effective business communications. So what is business communication? One of the definition is that business communication is the process of sharing information between people within and outside of a company. This sharing of information between people within an enterprise that is performed for the commercial benefit of the organization. In addition, business communication can also refer to how a company shares information to promote its products or services to potential consumers. So if we take a look with the two definitions provided, you will see that sharing of information is always available. Just like any type of communication, when we deal with business communication, we still share information amongst people. However, we are dealing in the business side of things. It says here, effective business communication is a two-way process of listening and speaking, and it's of foremost importance in all phases of daily business life at your middle market company. So later on, when you go to the industry already, you will realize that everything is about benefits. So benefits or profit. So mostly, diba, kung magtatayo ka naman ng company, you would want for that company to profit. So one of the things that you could contribute so that the company can make a profit is to be able then to have an effective business communication. So let's go to the next topic. You have the types of business communications. So it says here, as future business leaders, you know that communication is a key part of any company's success. There are different types of business communication to consider that may adjust your tone or content. So you have your internal upward, internal downward, internal lateral, and of course your external communications. We shall take a look at each of this so that we get to differentiate one from the other. So let's go to the first one, your internal upward. So it says here, internal upward business communication is communication that comes from a subordinate to a manager or an individual up the organizational hierarchy. So let's take a look at our setting. Diba? For example, I, as your instructor, will be making a communication letter or any type of communication to my superior, which is in this case our dean. So that type of communication is from a subordinate to a higher ranking official, which is the dean. So that means that type of business communication is actually internal upward. Basta galing ka po sa baba and then you are gonna address a type of communication to one with a higher rank than you, then that means it is a type of internal upward communication. So it says here, every leader should enable information to flow upwards in order to have a true understanding of the company's operations. Internal upward communications usually includes surveys, feedback, forms, and reports that employees deliver to their managers or team leaders. So the second type of your business communication is your internal downward. So this is the reverse of the first one. So when we say internal downward communication, it means that your communication flows from a superior to one or more subordinates. Usually, this type of communication might be in the form of letter, a memo, or a verbal directive. So, kunyari, si Dean, yung ating Dean, is nag-send siya sa akin ng communication letter. So, that means that it is a type of internal downward communication because it is from a higher ranking official to a subordinate. So let's take a look at this note. When communicating with employees, leaders should keep communication professional and clear. An example of this type of communication may include a memo regarding a new company operations procedures such as safety requirements and new regulations. So keep in mind that later on, you will be handling people, you will become a leader of certain people or you will be handling certain people when you are already working, and it is very important that you keep your communications with them in a professional and clear level to avoid any miscommunications. So the third one is your internal lateral business, or rather your internal lateral business communication. When we say internal lateral, this is the type of communication that happens among employees in a workplace. So today, there are many different ways employees can communicate, such as your chats, messaging, email, employees communication software solutions. So for example, me as your teacher, or as your instructor rather, if I try to communicate with another instructor of a different subject or of a different course, then that is a type of internal lateral communication since we are just in the same level. So another explanation for your internal lateral. This type of communication can be within or among departments, and it happens more regularly than other types of business communication. Moreover, frequent communication among employees play a crucial role for employee engagement and productivity. So the fourth type is your external communication. When we say external communication, it is the type of communication that happens with external parties such as customers, prospects, vendors, or partners. Unlike all the internal business communication types, external communications happen on a less regular basis. So for example, I, as an employee of the University of Cordilleras, would like to communicate with any other person outside the University of the Cordilleras. So, for example, I would want to communicate with my former friend who is probably an instructor in Benguet State University or St. Louis University or University of Baguio. So if it's not under the coverage of the company and the communication is going outside the company, then we could that type of communication falls under your external communication. So the third one is effective business communications. So it says here, ask 100 employees whether they're good communication, and 100 will of course say yes. In reality, though all of us need to improve our communication skills, or rather in reality though, all of us need to improve our communication skills. So the upcoming slides will present us tips on how we could communicate better, especially when it comes to business. So it says here, eliminate assumption. That's the first rule. So there are many business relationships wherein the very first rule is to assume what the other party wants, diba? But this is the very first thing that you have to remember when you're trying then to communicate, especially when it is outside the company or when it is an external type of communication. We have to eliminate assumptions. So why do we have to eliminate assumptions? Kasi we don't want to be caught off guard, or we don't want to expect a lot, especially if, di ba, parang you will end up disappointed, especially if you expected a lot and then the other party wasn't able then to fully, the other party wasn't able then to fulfill the expectations that you have. So very first, eliminate assumptions. Second one, find a good place and time for all involved to talk. So it says there, communication won't work when one party is distracted. You have to find a quiet place, and if the communication is difficult, make sure you have your privacy. Have regular structures such as weekly or monthly meetings to support communication, and make time to talk when there's a problem to solve. So just like what we are doing now, we as your instructors are trying to communicate with you. However, it's not really as effective as the usual communication that we had before, since diba, before you had your room wherein the room supposedly is conducive to learning so that the communication is effective. However, because of the struggles that we are facing, we have to opt to be able then to communicate with you effectively. And of course, on your side, as our students, you have to make sure that you have your own privacy, such that whatever it is that we are trying to convey to you, especially important information, you have to make sure that you try as much as possible to absorb it so that it becomes effective. So communication kasi po is a two-way. Hindi lang po puro kami or hindi lang po puro kayo. So you have to be a good listener during this time. And of course, if you have questions, the very first thing that you have to remember is that it is okay to ask. Wag po kayong mahihiyang magtanong or whatnot, because it might be that the questions that you have is also the questions that your other classmate have. So in that way, di ba, hindi lang nasagutan yung tanong mo, maaaring nasagutan din po yung questions ng ibang mga kasama mo. The third one, to be heard, listen first. You never want to begin by imposing a solution. If there's a problem, simply describe it and how it is impacting your business. Then, ask in an open way, what can we do to resolve this situation? The biggest business communication killer is the failure to listen. You have to be open-minded enough to hear the other side's feedback, absorb it, and develop a solution that combines what you want and what they want. So it has to be a compromise. Kailangan maging compromise siya. So for speaking of this, the VP for academics, our Vice President for academics, actually asked us what you think regarding this half-half scheme, the first half and the second half. Is it really effective for you, or is it better than spending the course throughout the semester, or is the first half, second half more effective than the total of the first trimester? So in the end part, or I believe in your examination next week, the last part, I will be asking you to provide a comment regarding the first half, second half scheme that was implemented by UC. Is it really effective for you, or would you prefer to go back to the old style wherein the course is spread throughout the semester? So your feedback will be highly appreciated so that your voices can also be heard by our higher people. Because with all honesty, we as your instructors, most of us would have preferred that we spread the course throughout the semester. But if you think that the first half, second half scheme is more effective for you, then please go ahead and say so that we could also assess, or the higher people could also assess what we get to do when the second trimester comes. So number 4, I already said this earlier, you have to ask questions. Asking questions help you get feedback, show that you are really listening, and it also confirms your understanding and also show that you are giving respect. Questions are wonderful tools and should be used often. When you combine listening with asking relevant questions, you've opened up more powerful two-way business communications. The 5th one, expressing emotion is important, but always be respectful. It's perfectly acceptable to tell someone how to solve the problem. You might begin by mutually clarifying work-related expectations. Emotion is part of that communication, but it shouldn't be the end of it. This is true especially if you want to empathize with your customers, trying to put yourself in their shoes so that you get to understand them better. But of course, you have also to draw the line by being professionals. Okay? You have to be able then to learn how to draw the line when you are being too emotional already, or when you are already disrespecting your instructors or your classmates and whatnot. So this is very important, especially when you go to the industry class. Because when you are already in the industry, most people there won't care about how you feel, right? So it's very important that you actually show that you understand, you empathize to what they are going through, and from there, try then to resolve the issue or the problem in a professional manner. Number 6, pay attention to nonverbal messages. It's hard to have open communication if both sides fold their arms, clench their jaws, and refuse to look each other in the eye. If nonverbal messages are overwhelming the conversation, it might be better to wait until things settle. So same is true with, for example, you have your girlfriends or boyfriends. This is especially true when it comes to girls. Kasi most girls are emotional by nature. So if something is wrong, usually diba, they don't tell their partners, but they just give nonverbal messages like that. For example, the one that says here, whenever they try to fold their arms or their jaws are clenching, and if they don't want to look at the other person. So, diba, as it says here, it's better to wait for things to settle before continuing the communication. Number 7, recognize and reinforce positive behaviors. Effective communication is a constant activity, and you should thank the other person for accommodating you. This is a win-win, and it will keep the channels of communication open. What do you call this? Every time that you try to communicate with someone, it's always important that you try to reinforce positivity. Usually, we call this your positive scripting. So, for example, you and your friend are going to meet up at exactly 9 o'clock. But then for some reason, you are running late. So, you were there at around 9:30 and the other person is already annoyed because you are late for 30 minutes. So reinforcing positive behaviors actually helps the other person understand you more. Instead of saying, sorry, late ako, why don't you try and say, thank you for waiting for me. I apologize since there was a traffic jam in our area or whatnot. So just say thank you first, diba? It lightens up the mood. So saying thank you for patiently waiting for me. Yung mga ganong bagay. You have to reinforce positivity even if, diba? Even during those situations. So number 8, be patient and don't expect miracles. Communications is so important and so hard. It doesn't eliminate differences, but it does allow for them. Ultimately, good business communication is really not about winning. It's about strengthening your relationships. And you have to understand that change doesn't happen overnight. So this is very important. You have to be patient. Be patient. So yun. So I think that's it for the business communications, introduction to business communications. The next topic is the kinds of business letters, which I will be presenting to you in the next video. So class, please don't forget to click and subscribe to this channel so that you will be updated for any new videos. And as I always say, stay home, stay healthy, and stay safe. Goodbye, everyone.